Let's review a little of what we spoke about last week. So in the previous prakim in Perek Aleph and Perek Beis, there the Alter Rebbe talks about how the world is being recreated at every moment. And at every single moment, it requires the constant infusion of energy from Hashem in order for the world to exist. Of Chas v'Shalom, the energy of Hashem, the energy which is inherent in the Asar Mamaris, would leave creation, then the world would revert to absolute nothingness as it was before the Sheishis Yimei Bereshis. Last week, so we got to the crux, we got to the point where we're heading to the entire time, which is the fact that the world requires a constant energy of Hashem in order to recreate it at every moment doesn't only tell us about how much the world is dependent upon Hashem. It doesn't only tell us what were to happen if Chas v'Shalom, the Oyer and the Chayis, the energy would leave, but that tells us something about the state of the existence of the world right now, even as the world exists with the Asar Mamaris, and that is that the world doesn't really exist. That really all that exists is the Hashem and the creative power of Hashem that is constantly forcing the world into existence. That's what we spoke about last week. And we explained that once again, if the world doesn't really have existence on its own, it doesn't possess the quality of existence. If it possessed the quality of existence, then even if the energy were to leave, it would still exist. But it doesn't really exist. So it's artificially being pumped with existence at every moment. So does the world really exist? No, Einid Movadi. The truth is the only thing that exists is Hashem. And everything else is only an expression of the energy of Hashem, and is there only because Hashem put it there, but it doesn't really exist on its own. Then the Alter Rebbe takes this a step deeper, which is what we started at the end of last week's Shaar, but we didn't really fully explain the point, which is the Alter Rebbe is going to explain that the bittul, the nullification of creation and all the worlds to Hashem, is even deeper than we imagined. And to illustrate this idea, the Alter Rebbe gives us a mashal, the mashal of the light of the sun relative to the sun. So obviously the light of the sun is bottled to the sun. Because what is the light of the sun? If the sun were to go away, there wouldn't be any light. At any moment, the sun is the light is merely an extension of, an expression of, a revelation of the sun itself. So the light is obviously bottled to the sun itself. But there's a higher level of bittul, and that is as the light of the sun is present within the sun itself. There the bittul is even greater. Let's do this inside, and then we'll explain it with some mishalim outside. Again, we're starting from where it says Vehaemunah lazeh. Probably around 13 lines in the bottom. Vehaemunah lazeh, the mashal to bring out this point, hu oyer hashemesh hameir la'aretz v'ladarim, the light of the sun, which illuminates on this world, v'ladarim, and those inhabit this world. Shehu ziva oyer hamishpashit meguf hashemesh. This is the radiance and the light which extends from the sun. V'nira le'ein koil, and it is visible to everyone. Meir ala aretz, the light of the sun is what illuminates this world. B'chalal ha'olam, and here in the entire globe. V'hinei zeh pashut. And as Avi is Shaar v'ziv hazeh, that this light yeshnei gamkein beguf v'chomer kador hashemesh atzmoi shebashamayim, is also present in the sun itself. What's the raya that it's present in this? What's the raya that it's present in the sun itself also? Sheim mispashet umeir l'merachi kol kach. If the light is able to extend so far, here we are 93 million miles away from the sun, and we benefit from the light of the sun. So, if it can extend so far, it's without a doubt, how much more so, that in its place itself, by the sun itself, there exists the light of the sun. Rak, it's only Rak, over there in its place, the light of the sun is considered absolutely nothing. Because it's completely bottled to the body of the sun. Which is the source of this light. So although in the sun there's also light, But that light, the light as it is within the sun, isn't noticeable. Again, as we said last week, if you were to look at the sun, which as we said last week is not a good idea, but if you look at the sun, you wouldn't say, oh, there's the sun and also there's sunlight. But rather, it's the sun, the light which is in there is bottled to the sun. The light is only an extension that comes forth from the sun. However, over here in this world, beneath the heavens, and on the earth over here, because over here we don't have the body of the sun. This light seems to be something of substance. Over here, Taka, it's something, the light is something. As opposed to when the light is in the body of the sun, you can't say it's a mitzias of light. Over there it's nothing. There, Taka, it's nothing. There, all that there illuminates is the source, not the light, but the source. Which is the body of the sun, which gives light, and there is nothing other than it. The Alter Rebbe is going to continue and say that the bittul of all of creation to Hashem, bittul of all of creation to the Asar Ma'amaris, to the divine energy, which gives it light, is not like the light of the sun that extends from the light, but it's like the light of the sun which is in the light. So let's give a little mashal or two to illustrate what the depth that Alter Rebbe is trying to bring out over here. So let's say you have a Rav, you have a teacher, and this teacher is a big goin, and he's able to understand obviously the Gemara, Rashi Tosfos, and the Mefarshim. It's not only that he knows much more than his students, but his mind also so much. He has so much more knowledge, and he's so much more intelligent than his students. So he sits down and he learns a sugi Gemara. You can only imagine the incredible intensity of what's going on in the head of the Rav as he for himself is experiencing this sugya. Then afterwards, the Rav, he has Talmidim, and he has to go and he has to teach this sugya of Gemara. He has to teach it to his students. It's obvious that the Rav cannot teach the students the depth of the Gemara as he himself personally understands it, as he himself personally experiences it. So the Rav has to find and isolate a certain element of that which he learned, like the simplest level of understanding, and that is what he's able to give over to the Talmidim. So this would be an example of the sun being the wisdom of the Rav, and then there comes the oir, the light that comes from the Rav, and that oir is able to reach his Talmidim. And that oir is a very, very simplified, simple level of this Gemara, which obviously in the Rav's mind there's so much more going on, so much more depth going on. Let me ask you a question. That idea, that oir, which is extending to the students, does that also exist within the mind of the teacher? Or is that something new which is created?
Yeah.
That oir that's reaching the students, that light, okay, and here we're talking about the light now as being a metaphor for the seichel ideas, the ideas of the Gemara, the simplified ideas of the Gemara, which the Rav is teaching his students. Does that also exist within the mind of the Rav?
Yes.
The answer is yes.
It's but to
It has to be there. If it's not there, where is it coming from? So that light has to also exist in the. Now this is very different, for example, than a mashal, which with the mashal that we used in previous prakim, about the silversmith. The silversmith takes a piece of silver and fashions the silver. Is there silver within the silversmith? Within the person who's fashioning it? No. Why? Because that person is having an impact on something which is outside of him. But over here, the Rav, he's having an impact on the students which are outside of him. But in terms of the seichel doesn't exist outside of the Rav. The Rav has to right now give that seichel outside of him. He can't give something which he doesn't have inside of him. And that's the same thing like we're talking about the sun. So the sun, there's the sun itself, there's the light of the sun, but there is no question that if the light extends outside of the sun so far, it definitely has to be in the sun itself, because otherwise, where's it coming from? So obviously, if there's light outside the sun, there's light in the sun also. Not only that, the very same ideas, the very same, that Pashit Pshat level, which the Rav right now is giving over to the Talmidim, that Pashit Pshat, as it exists in the mind of the Rav, is actually much brighter. That Pashit Pshat itself, I'm not even talking about the full depth which the Rav is experiencing in his mind. Even that very simplified level of Pshat which the Rav is conveying, even that, as it exists in the mind of the Rav, is deeper and more powerful than how he is conveying it, because by the nature of something, whenever you convey something, you're never conveying the full force of it. So it's not only that there is oyer also in the sun, but the oyer as it exists in the sun is actually much more powerful than the oyer that there is over here. So what do we established so far? There's the oyer that extends from the sun, there's the oyer that's in the sun. Just like when the Rav teaches the Talmud, there's the oyer that extends from the Rav, and that oyer also exists within the Rav himself also, but the oyer there is much more powerful. Now in this world usually we associate powerful, or we disassociate powerful from bittul. The more powerful you are, the less bittul you are. But let me ask you a question. Which oyer is more bittul to the sun? The oyer inside the sun, which is more powerful, or the oyer outside the sun, which is less powerful?
Inside the sun.
The oyer inside the sun is much more bittul.
Yeah,
let's go back to the mashal, and
it's more confined within the glow of the sun.
Let's go back to the Rav, the Rav and Talmud example. So you have the Rav over here. Within the Rav, forget about the students. There is no students. In the Rav himself, that oyer, what is the oyer? The oyer is that simplest understanding of the Gemara. Remember that. That's what we're talking about here. The simplest understanding of the Gemara. When the Rav is learning Gemara for himself, that oyer isn't even perceptible.
It's not there, Rav.
It's barely there. The Rav is so much deeper than that. That simplified level is only isolated and is only necessary when there's a student there who the Rav has to teach. But as the Rav is learning this Gemara, imagine now that there are no Talmidim around. Okay? The Rav is sitting and learning the Gemara. The fact that this Rav theoretically, potentially could go and teach a Talmud, it's not that oyer is created when a Talmud comes. That oyer always is within the Rav. But that oyer isn't perceptible. Why isn't that oyer perceptible? Because when you look at the Rav, you see the Rav. When the Rav is all for himself, all there is the Rav on his level, and on his level, his understanding of the Gemara is so much deeper than anything he can convey to the students. Although it's there. That light is there, present within the Rav himself, but when it's present in the Rav is so much greater, and the Rav is the source of all of that oyer is completely bottled to the Rav. As opposed to when the Rav goes and teaches, and then that oyer extends outside of him, and now a student has it and receives it, and then the student goes home, and then he tells over to his wife and his children this wonderful idea that he heard from the Rav, and they're like, wow, that's amazing. Where's the Rav? This is not bittul to the Rav right now, because it already extended outside of the Rav. As long as that oyer is inside the Rav, that oyer is completely bittul. But the moment that the oyer extends out of it, it becomes something what of a mitzias. The same thing is also with the sun. As long as the oyer is within the sun, the oyer is completely bittul to the sun. The moment it comes out, you look at it and you say, that's sunlight. Even though, that where does the sunlight come from? It comes only from the sun. So Alter Rebbe is going to tell us that all of creation, we are bittul to Hashem, not like the light of the sun that extends from the sun, but we are the light of the sun as it is within the sun. All of creation, we are within the sun. Why? Because les asar pani minei meloichal aretz kavode, the sun is everywhere, the source is everywhere, Hashem is here. So we are extensions of Hashem within Hashem. And when we're within Hashem, we are completely batal b'metzias, like the light of the sun is batal to the sun itself. To use another example, something which we spoke about last week. Let's say you have a huge fire, and you take a candle and you hold it up to the fire. So that candle is batal to the fire.
Can't see the flame.
Can't even see the flame.
Nothing.
And it's like the huge fire is so much bigger than it that it's completely batal to it. But is it nothing, the fire?
It's something.
It's something, but it's batal due to its insignificance relative to something which is much greater. But what if you take the fire, let's say you have a candle with a fire on it, and there's a big fire, and you take the candle and you throw it into the fire. Did the fire disappear? No, it became subsumed now in the larger fire.
The larger fire. It's part of it.
It's still there. But is it a Metzias now, or is it completely batal?
It's no Messias.
Because
totally
it lost, it has nothing. It is not. Why? Because it's kolul in its makar. Because right now kolul, it is included. It has become subsumed in its source. It is like the light of the sun in the sun. It's there. And by the way, not only is it there, it's more powerful, actually.
And it adds on
the flame, because now it's hotter, right? And more. But at the end of the day, it's completely batal. We, relative to Hashem, it's not as if Hashem is here and we're like a little candle that's batal. We're like a candle. Yes, we're a candle, but we're like a candle that's in the bonfire. That's the bittul of all of creation to Hashem. A bittul of Einoid Movadei. And that's not the Rebbe is going to continue.
What is our identity? That candle has no identity once it's fully subsumed in the sun.
Correct.
So what's our identity?
Who said you have an identity?
Don't you have any sin?
We'll find out. We'll have to see. If Torah says you have an identity, we have to keep on going and find it out.
You can't walk around and say that I don't have no identity. At least yourself, image yourself.
We have to look into it again and find out. And as we move on, we'll find out. Okay.
I jumped the gun.
As usual. 4 lines from the top of page 156. Exactly the same way. Mamish, the same form, the same image, just like the light of the sun as it is in the sun. Him kol habiruim is all creations legabe shefa holiki, relative to the flow of divine energy meruach pi from Hashem's mouth, hashefeya aleim, which flows onto them, umahava oisam, and creates them, all of creations. V'hu mekoyram, it is the source of all of creations. Vehaemunah, and all of creation. Einam rak are only. K'mei oir v'ziv mispashet. Min hashefa v'ruach Hashem. They are like light, and the radiance that spreads forth from the effluence v'ruach Hashem, the spirit of Hashem, hashefeya u'mislabish b'toicham, that flows and is enclosed inside them, u'mitziyah me'ayin liyash, and is constantly taking them out of a state of nothingness and making them into something. V'lachein, and therefore, heim b'teilem b'mitzias legabi mekoyram. Everything is batal b'mitzias to its source. K'mo oir hashamash, like the light of the sun, shabatal b'mitzias, which is completely batal. V'nechshav la'ayin ve'efes mamish, and it's considered nothing. Ve'edin nikra b'shem yesh klal kshu b'mekoyri, like the light of the sun, that when it's in the source, is not even called light. It's just part of the sun. Rak, it's only the tachas hashemayim, under the heavens. She'ein sham mekoyri, there the source, the sun is not there. Kach, the same thing, kol abruim, all of creations. Ein neifol aleim shem yesh klal. The name yesh, something, you can't say that this is something. Elaleini basar shalanu, only to our eyes. She'ein onu masigim, she'ein onu royu masigim klal asawakar, because we can't see or grasp the source. Shu ruach Hashem mahava oisam, which is the words of Hashem's mouth, which creates us. Ramesha, can you get me a Rambam Mada, please? And therefore, it seems to our eyes, Gashmias, Hanevroim v'chumram umamasham. We look at something and we see the physicality, We see its substance. Shehim yesh gomer, and it looks like mamish something. Thank you, which is a yesh gomer, completely a yesh and mitzias. Yesh gomer, just like, excuse me, just like the light of the sun seems to be epis mitzias when it's not in its source. Adkan. So what do we have over here? That the bittul of creations to the Creator, the bittul, our bittul to the Devar Hashem, which creates us, is absolute. That we have no mitzias at all. Not only that we're smaller and Hashem is bigger. Not only that we are dependent upon Hashem, which is like the light. At the end of the day, there's really three levels of bittul that we're discussing. One level of bittul is something smaller towards something bigger. That's one level of bittul. Like a drop of water, it's bittul to the ocean. It's nothing. Another level is when when its complete existence is dependent upon another. It's a deeper level of bittul. It's not that I'm smaller. I don't exist on my own without the mucker, without the source. And then there's something even deeper when you're dependent on the source and you're in the source. You're still in the source. So it's not even that if someone were to look, you're like, if the sun is over there and the light's there, if I look over there, I see only the light. Why? Even though the light is dependent on its source, but right now, I'm not looking at the source, I'm looking at the light. But then there's the bittul of something which is completely dependent upon its mucker. While it's in the mucker, and that bittul is absolute, and that is the bittul of all of creation to Hashem, because we are completely dependent upon Hashem for every moment for our existence, and we are all within the mucker, we are all within Hashem.
But the bittul is not only for the goof, not for the neshama. The person has goof, basar, and has neshama. So the bittul is on the goof, but still we have neshama. So not bittul on the neshama.
The bittul is bothering you? What's wrong if your neshama is bittul? Your neshama resists your goof resists bittul to Hashem. So we have to learn some Tanya, and we have to find out how to make the goof also bittul. Your neshama wants to be bittul. Your neshama is very happy to be batel. In fact, we learned earlier on in Tanya, in Perik Yutas and Tanya, Neir Hashem Nishmas Adam. Your neshama is like a candle. Why is it like a candle? Like a flame that's constantly reaching upward. It wants to become batel to its source. So when you tell your neshama that it's batel, it gets all excited. The neshama is godly. Rak, however, here's where the mashal and the nimshal are a little off. Like we said, in the mashal, the sun here, it doesn't exist here on the world. And on the earth, and therefore here on the world, when you look at the sunlight, when you look out the window in the morning, you say, wow, it's light out there. You don't say, wow, the sun is out there. Or you don't necessarily have to say, you say, take a look, it's a beautiful day. It is so bright outside. The light and the brightness seem to be something for itself. Excuse me. Mashenkin kol habiruim, as opposed to all creations, we're always in our source, as we mentioned earlier. It's only that the makar, we don't see it with our physical eyes, but in truth we are in our source. So that raises the question. So why are we not batel b'mitzias like sunlight in the sun? Mela, if we were outside of our source, so we could delude ourselves and think that we're not batel, but we're in the source. So our bittul is absolute. So why aren't we batel? Why is it that we what?
It's hidden.
But to understand this, we have to first give a preface, which is the Alter Rebbe, how he begins Perek Dal. Okay, so the next Perek, that's where the explanation begins on why it is that we don't feel batel, that we don't walk around aware of and feeling our bittul to Hashem. So before we get to what you said that it's hidden. That's too simple of an answer. The Alter Rebbe could have thought of that himself. And ultimately, we're going to arrive at that answer, but in a much more sophisticated way. So there's a Vart of Chassidim about the end of this Perek, or the end of Perek Gimel, of Hayichud Vehaemunah, which is that we know about Chassidim in general, There is no regular Seder. It wasn't encouraged to learn Sifri Chakira, the books of the philosophers. And why is that? So one of the reasons is because the books of philosophers is that they have questions. How do I know Hashem exists? How do I know the Torah? How do I know this? And then there are answers. What happens if you read the question and before you get to read the answer you fall asleep for the night? And meanwhile, the whole night, what are you busy thinking about? You're busy thinking about the question and you don't have an answer. And what if the question really bothers you? And we don't want to have those questions. So the question then, the Chassidim ask is over here in the end of Perek Gimel, the Alter Rebbe, I think it's the only place in Tanya where the Alter Rebbe ends a Perek with a question. Yeah. How do we leave off with a question? So the Chassidim say, it's a saying of Chassidim, that this question the Alter Rebbe asks, why is it that we're not batel? It's fine if you fall asleep with that question at night. If it's fine if you walk in the street and that question bothers you. So why aren't we batel? If Taka the Metzias is that we're completely batel to Hashem, and the Metzias is that we're like the Eir Hashemesh in Guf Kadar Hashemesh in the sun. So how is it Taka that we feel like a Metzias? And this is a question, even if you never get to the answer. When we say that the oir of the sun, as it is in the sun, it's batel. Why is it batel, completely batel the sun? Is it because it has eyes or even awareness, and it looks at itself and says, "Wow, here I am. I'm in the sun. So therefore, I must be. I have to be batel." Or the candle. Why is the candle nothing? Because when people look at it, they don't see anything, or is it be'etzem nothing? When it's in the fire. Remember the example we gave earlier. The candle which is in the fire. We say it's batel completely. Why is it batel?
Because you can't see it.
Because you can't see it? Is that it? And if you were able to see it? In other words, let's put it in a different way. The reason why you can't see it is a symptom of the fact that it's batel. It's not batel because you can't see it. It is truly not a metzias for itself. It is truly part and parcel of nichlal and part of the makar.
It doesn't always get existence of its own. It's part of the
right.
The big thing.
Let's go to the other example we gave of the Rav and the Talmud. The oir as it exists inside the seichel of the Rav, right? That idea, that very simple idea, as it exists in the seichel of the Rav. Why is it batel? Because it's not even perceptible. Why isn't it perceptible? Because the Rav's mind is really so much deeper and greater. Only thing is, it's buried there deep down, but not even in a perceptible way. In all these examples that we're giving, the bittul is an etzem dike bittul. It's an essential bittul. If you were to take away the makar, would suddenly the thing itself become revealed?
No. It has to be conveyed.
By way of example, if I put a candle in front of the fire, so then if I move away the fire, then suddenly the candle becomes something.
That's good.
But what if I throw the candle into the fire and now I decide, well, I want the candle again.
Can't get it.
So I start putting out the fire.
No, you put out everything.
It's all melted.
So the more if I put out the fire, I put out the candle also. The candle which doesn't even, right? Because the candle doesn't exist on its own. It doesn't have a metzias. It's not only a matter of awareness, not only because the largeness of the source is right there, so therefore you can't see it. No. It's taka not. It's taka completely 100% batel.
But let's say you had the candle here and you eliminated the big fire. The candle will still be on its own. The flame on the candle will still be there, even though you eliminated the source. You eliminated the big bonfire.
If you did what?
You have a candle here,
Yeah.
you have a big fire here.
Right.
So say, in perception, you can't see the flame of the...
But that's because it's only perception.
Let's say we would eliminate the bonfire. The candles...
That's exactly what I'm saying. Why is that? Because the candle is not in its makar. But if you throw the candle into the makar,
that's everything. It's already...
Or chas v'shalom, this Rav were to lose his great intelligence. Would you say, oh, suddenly that the oir would be revealed? No, the oir is completely part of it.
Part of it. Everything goes to everything.
So what are you going to say over here? That the reason why we are not batal to Hashem is because we don't see it. It's because it's hidden. This is not about our perception. If our mitzias is bittul, if our it's not like the candle that if you move it away, suddenly it becomes something. We're not like the candle, we're going to say, oh, we put a curtain in front of Hashem, so therefore now we seem, and we don't see Hashem, so now we seem to be something. That only works if we're not in the mucker. That answer which you gave that is hidden works in our original understanding. Our original understanding was that Hashem is our source and Hashem is so great, so therefore, so then the answer is, but what if I don't see Hashem? Then suddenly I see a candle. Then you see us. But if we're kavul in the mucker, if we are in the source, whether or not the source can be seen, that is our mitzias. And not only that, I can argue with you that if our source becomes hidden, then we should become hidden also, because we're part of the source. We're kavul in the mucker, like the candle. So you can't tell me the reason why that we don't sense our bittul is because our source is hidden, because then we should also be hidden. Our bittul is the most essential bittul possible. We have no mitzias other than our source. We're in the source. How is it that we walk around and feel ourselves as something what of a mitzias? And that's what we're going to have to find out.
How do you perceive that we're part of the source?
Emir Hashem next week.
Perception is not obvious.
That's the question. How is that possible?
It's more likely that it looks more likely that the candles were out of the source on that model, that mushroom.
But how can we be out of the source whenever Hashem is everywhere?
Because he's giving the divine energies. He's
within the source.
No, he's maybe outside the source, and he's constantly creating.
We're outside of Hashem. Nothing's outside of Hashem.
So what is the whole concept of symptoms all about?
We're going to have to find out. But that definitely is related to it and connects to it, this whole concept of tzimtzum. And we're going to find out that it's not this idea.
You need that tzimtzum at the beginning. You're part of it.
You know, we're going to find out in Mir Hashem, as we learn Perek Dalet, that we think about this incredible feat that Hashem did, that He created everything. He created all this world, all the worlds. But the fact that we are, all of us, that we walk around sensing ourselves and not batal to Hashem is a feat of an equal magnitude, equal in its greatness, equal to the entirety of creation. But that Hashem will do when we learn Perek Dalet. But right now, let's take a little break. I want to talk about something else, which is connected to we'll see whether we can. I'm not sure whether we'll continue. We won't continue today, Perek Dalet. But either way, I want to talk a little about something connected to this week's parsha, which obviously is also connected to what we're talking about. So this week's parsha is a. You have the Rebbe writes in Hayichud Yom that the Rebbe Rashab said. He brought on the Alter Rebbe says with Leben mit the site. You have to live with the times, which means you have to live with the Parshat Shavua. So he says Bereshis is a nice parsha, but the end is not so geschmack. You know, the whole story of the Chatei Tzadas and Kain Vehavel, and then you have the beginning starts off very good with the creation, Gan Eden, but it ends off on a sour note with the Asara Deiros, the 10 generations, and everyone going off. And then you have Noach, which starts off negative, but it ends off with Avram Avinu being born. A happy ending of the week. Lech Lecha is the first truly happy week. We're with Avram Avinu from the beginning of the week till the end of the week. We live with that. The first Yid who has Moser Nefesh Mefarsim Elikus. Now, although we are really introduced to Avram in this week's parsha, but we know that Avram really already came to recognize Hashem earlier on. How old was Avram Avinu when he recognized Hashem, when he came to recognize Hashem?
3.
Sorry?
3.
3 years old, okay. So the Rambam in Hilchas Avodah Zarah, in Perek Aleph, and Halacha Gimel, the Rambam, he gives a whole history of Avodah Zarah, which we'll talk about in a moment. And then he talks about Avram Avinu, and he says, "Ben Arboim Shana Hikir Avram Azbayda." Avram was 40 years old when he recognized his Creator. That's what he says. So, The Ravid says on this, Amar Avram, Yesh Agada, there's an Agada, which is actually brought on in the Gemara, Mesachos Nadarim. The Ben Shalosh Shana, the Avram was 3 years old. And what's the Raya? There's a Raya from a Pasuk, Shenemar, Eikev Asher Shama Avram Bekoili. And Hashem tells Yitzchak, this is later on, and Parshas Toldos, Hashem told Yitzchak, I'm going to bench you, Eikev, because Asher Shama Avram Bekoili, because Avram listened to my voice. But the word Eikev it's a little interesting word. It's not the usual. The word could have said, I'm giving it to you because, like how do you say, what's the normal, biglal?
Yeah.
Or, but it says Eikev, but the word Eikev is, the gematria is 172. So 172 is because Avram lived 175 years. But for the first 3 years, he didn't recognize Hashem. So for the 172 years, that's Shama B'Koili. That's what he says. So the Kesef Mishnah says on this, the Kesef Mishnah says that this is talking in Mesachos Nadarim. And then he says that we find in Sfarim, the Kesef Mishnah says, Mashal, for example, in Medrash Rabbah, that Avram was 48. It's machlokes how old he was. Some say 48. And so the Kesef Mishnah says, Mistama, it seems that the Rambam found the Girsa that it was 40, not 48. Because in our Sfarim we don't have 40. In other words, in our Sfarim we have either 3, the Gemara, or the Medrash says that he was 48. It's actually another Medrash, I believe it says he was 50. There is no Medrash that says 40, but apparently the Rambam found the Medrash, this is the Kesef Mishnah says. The Rambam found the Medrash that says that he was 40. And that obviously raises a bunch of questions. So why doesn't the Rambam say what it says in the Gemara, 3 years old? And even if he found a girsa, so why does the Rambam using it as a strange girsa? Why doesn't he use the popular girsa, which is 48 years old? And Bechlal, another question that can be asked is, why Bechlal does the Rambam have to say how old Avram is? Why can't they say Avram recognizes the Creator? Why does the Rambam feel a need to paskin over here and tell us how old Avram was when he recognized Hashem? That's the inyan of the Rambam in Mishnah Torah to be machriya between Gersois and to paskin which medrash or which agadat is correct.
Why can we say that the lashon by 3-year-old is ikir, by lashon 4-year-old yada? It's two different things.
So the Kesef Mishnah Taka says it. He says that you could say it's all the same thing. You could say that when he was 3 years old, that's when he began, and he finished when he was the ikir, the hakara was when he was 40. And that doesn't answer your question. First of all, it doesn't answer the question of why he says 40 and not 48, and also doesn't explain. So why doesn't he say 3 like the Gemara? That's when he started. Why is he saying 40? There's the whole thing. And again, why Bechal do you have to give over an age? Why is that important?
Relevance.
So, for those of you who are familiar with the Rambam of Hilchos Avodah Zarah Perek Aleph, Lubavitchers learn it once a year. So it's an interesting perek. It's a very unique perek. I don't know if there's another perek like it in the entirety of Rambam.
The lashon of the Rambam about Avraham Avinu is very unique. It's like a katana zeh or something.
Kivan shenigmal eisan zeh. We'll get there. Yeah. So, what is unique about the first perek of Hilchos Avodah Zarah is that it's a story. The whole perek, it's made up of 3 halachas. It is the history of Avodah Zarah. It's like an academic writing a paper and telling you, how did Avodah Zarah come into being? Because do you think that it's not a modern thing? Adam Rishon knew that there was an Eibush today. Hashem communicated with Adam Rishon. It is without a doubt that Adam Rishon then told the children that there's an Eibush. I mean, Cain also communicated with Hashem. And Adam definitely passed on the message. How about the society come that suddenly they're bowing down to a piece of wood? Fikum? Where does that come from? So the Rambam spends the entire first perek explaining the history of Avodah Zarah. The Rambam says like this. I'm going to give it over in short. Sorry. The Rambam says that in the times of Enosh, so Enosh was a great grandchild of Adam. So people began to make a big mistake. And they became silly. And they said that since Hashem created the stars and the Galgalim, which is what's Galgalim is the constellations. What? The constellations. So it must be they rule the world, and Hashem put them in the heavens, and He gave them a lot of kavod. They are His servants, so therefore we should praise them. We should give them kavod also. And that's what Hashem wants of us. He wants us that we should give kavod to those whom he gives kavod to. Just like a king wants to give kavod to people, to give kavod to servants. Okay, that was mistake number one. And you know how these things, they snowball. So then what's the next thing they decided? Okay, so we have to build sanctuaries now for these stars. We have to bring them karbanos, we have to praise them, we have to bow down to them. And this is all what Hashem wants. And the Rambam says, "V'zeh hoya ikar avodas kechavim." This is the main thing of it. This is the ikar, the root, the source, and the essence of avodah zarah, is this mistaken notion that there is something other than Hashem that deserves honor. It's not a denial of Hashem, but that there's something other than Hashem that has epis vas achshivas, epis vas something what a mitzias. Now, so that's halacha aleph. Then the Rambam continues in halacha beis and says, the years passed, the generations passed. Then suddenly there came the con artists and took advantage, known as Nevi'ei Sheker, the false prophets. And they said, oh, we got a prophecy. Hashem told us that you should serve this and this star, or these stars, or all the stars, and bring karbanos, and bring wine to it, build a sanctuary in this form, so that everyone should be able to come and should be able to bow down to the star. And Hashem wanted us to create a certain statue, a certain type of figure. And this is the figure of that particular star, which I was informed about in my nevuah. And that's how it just started going downward and downwards. And then some people started saying, "Oh, I'm a navi. That star or that constellation itself or that angel itself came to me and spoke to me and said, 'Serve me.'" And that's what everyone started doing. And bottom line is, another few generations passed and everyone forgot about Hashem. In other words, the first generation, they believed in Hashem. They just thought, they made the mistake of thinking that Hashem wants that you should bow down or worship or give honor to these other entities. But as the generations passed, everyone forgot about it in Gansen. And there are only yichidim, very few people in the world, like Chanoichim, Yisoshalach, Noach, Shem, and Ever, who they knew the truth. And this is the way the world was going and rolling on in the darkness. Ad Shenel Damudi Shel Eilam, who Avram Avinu, until the pillar of the world was born, and that is Avram Avinu. That's halacha beis. So we're still again a continuation of this, the anatomy of avodah zarah. Kivan shenigmal eisanza. As soon as this powerful person, as soon as he was weaned, so in his mind, his mind started wandering. He's young. He started thinking by day, by night, how is it possible that the world moves, that everything moves, and no one's moving it? Nothing moves by itself. He had no one who taught him. No one told him anything. He was in or kazdim between the idol worshippers, the foolish idol worshippers. His father was an idol worshipper. His mother was an idol worshipper, and he also was an idol worshipper. The Rambam says that Avram Avinu also was an Eved Avodah Zarah, but his heart and his mind were moving until finally he understood. Vehaemunah, he understood Kaf HaTzadik, the proper way, mitfunasi anachena, from his proper understanding, and he knew that there's one Eibishter, and he created everything. Ve'ein b'chol hanimtza elikach chutz mimenu. There's nothing other than Hashem. Talking about we're learning a Shaar Vehaemunah. We know that he went on and he publicizes to the world, as the Rambam will say soon, and as Chassidus explains how it says in next week's parsha, it says the Vayita Eshel b'Ve'ershava, that Avram, he went and he made a Eshel is a hospitality home in Beersheva. Vayikra Hashem b'Shem Hashem Keil Olam, and he proclaimed to the world Keil Olam. And as explained in Chassidus, not Keil HaOlam. Keil HaOlam means the God of the world, which implies that there is a Eibishter, there's a God, and there's a world. Keil HaOlam is one thing. Eined Mavadeh. There's no Keil HaOlam, but Keil HaOlam Mavadeh. And he realized everyone was making a mistake, and he also understood the reason. In other words, the Avram Avinu of his own mind was able to pick up and understand where everyone went wrong. He's among a bunch of Evdei Avodah Zarah, but he's able to understand. Here's what happened, and here's how everyone went wrong. And here's what the Rambam says: 40 years old Avram was when he recognized his Creator. And since he knew, as soon as he knew about it, so he started having debates with all the people there, and he told everyone, "You guys are making a big mistake. You should break all the Avodah Zarah." And when he was successful in his debates, so the king wanted to kill him. He had a miracle happen. He went to Haran, and he started standing and calling out in a great voice to the whole world to know there's a God in the world, and you have to serve him. And he was going and he's calling and gathering people from city to city, nation to nation, till he got to Eretz Canaan. And there it says, "Vayikra Hashem b'shem Hashem Kileilam." And the people would come and gather and ask him what's going on. He would tell each one, and he's convinced everyone the way of truth until he had thousands and tens of thousands of Hasidim. Okay, the Rambam doesn't say the word Hasidim, but thousands and tens of thousands of followers. And these are Anshe Beis Avram. These are the members of the household of Avram. And Avram, he shasal belibam ikar gad lazeh. He planted in the heart this great ikar of Achdus Hashem. He wrote Sfarim on the topic. He told to Yitzchak. Yitzchak told it. He also taught, and he taught Yaakov. Yaakov taught his sons. Yaakov made Levi the Rosh Yeshiva. I'm obviously giving you over I'm almost finished, but I'm giving over the main of the Perek. And everything was going amazing. And there was going to be a nation which knows Hashem. But then what happened was, the Yidden go down to Mitzrayim, there are a few generations in Mitzrayim, and they went back to be reverted to their old ways. And they started doing Avodah Zarah also, the Yidden. Except for Shevet Levi. And it was almost that Ikar which Avram planted was almost uprooted. And Bnei Yisrael were almost going to go back to the mistake of the entire world. But, Me'avas Hashem Meisanu, because Hashem loves us, and because of the oath that he made, the Shvuah, he made Avram Avinu, so Hashem made Moshe Rabbeinu the Rebbe of all the Nevi'im, that he does say, Rabban shall call on Nevi'im, and he sent him to the Yidden, and Moshe became a Navi, and Hashem chose the Yidden, and he gave him the mitzvahs. And Hashem told us, here is my service, here's how to do it, and here's also all the mitzvahs of Avodah Zarah. That's Perek Aleph. So now that I gave it over to you, you understand the uniqueness. For those of you who are familiar with the Rambam, this is not a normal Perek in Rambam. Normal Perek in Rambam is all... And the Rambam... Yeah, and if you look in the Akdama to Rambam, the Rambam says that what is the goal of my Sefer? Is halachas halachas. Rambam is not a... Let's have us an entire Perek over here, which is giving us the history of Avodah Zarah. Sorry?
No, he has a few Agadas, but this is all Agadas.
You have a few what, sorry?
Agadas.
Every Agadas in the Rambam is halacha. We have to understand each one. But again, but an entire Perek, what? Yeah, in general, the Rambam will finish off a Sefer with a little Agadata. But even that, we have to look at it and figure out what the halachas that the Rambam is trying to learn to teach us over there are. But an entire Perek, what for? Why can't the Rambam, Perek Sheni begins, that's where you could have started. What is Avodah, like every other halacha in Rambam, start with what's the halachas of Avodah Zarah. So the Rebbe explains in the Sikha that Avodah Zarah, there are a lot of halachas of Avodah Zarah. What you're allowed to do, what you're not allowed to do. Chas v'shalom to bow down to this, and you're not allowed to serve this, you're not allowed to do that, and how you're supposed to treat actual Avodah Zarah, to krevis Avodah Zarah. I mean, there are many, whole set, the whole Masechta, a whole set of, right? But ultimately, Avodah Zarah is not about a set of halachas. Ultimately, Avodah Zarah is about perspective. And the main thing, and that's why when it comes to Avodah Zarah, we have a unique halacha, which is that we're not allowed to think Avodah Zarah. As the Rambam says, "Shalititu behirur halev lavid elu." The mitzvah is not even to think Avodah Zarah. We're not supposed to think that there's some sort of intermediary between us and Hashem, that there's something that has any koyach, any power other than Hashem. And that's unique in all the halachas. Avodah Zarah, by the way, is one area where we say, I know you like to say machshava k'maisar, right? And we know that b'chlal we say that machshava ra ein HaKadosh Baruch Hu mitzaref l'maisar, that when it comes, but the exception to that rule is Avodah Zarah. Why? Because what is the essence of Avodah Zarah? The essence of Avodah Zarah is that in my mind, I think that there's something other than Hashem. There's something that has power other than Hashem. So what is the antidote to Avodah Zarah? Is having your mind straight. The idea of Achdus Hashem, knowing this idea of Anochi Hashem Elikecha and Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elikeinu, Hashem Echad. So the kavana is not only every mitzvah is supposed to have kavana, but in Avodah Zarah the kavana is not a detail in the mitzvah. Well, there's the mitzvah, there's the practical halachas, and there's also a kavana. No, in Avodah Zarah the kavana is the main nekuda. The main nekuda is to recognize the achdus of Hashem and to reject in your mind anything other than that. And that's why the halachas of Avodah Zarah is unique and wouldn't be complete if the Rambam wouldn't have put in the history. And he had to explain what happened. How did everyone go wrong? It's not that the Rambam is saying, okay, here, don't do this, don't do that. In your mind, you could be wondering, well, if people are doing Avodah Zarah, maybe there's something to it. Okay, but the Torah tells me not to, I won't. No, that's not, then you're missing the whole point. So therefore, in order to be able to do the mitzvah, fulfill the mitzvah of abstaining from Avodah Zarah and Achdus Hashem, we need to give the history. You need to understand, here's where the mistake happened. It's very logical. And not only that, Avraham Avinu, when he recognized the unity of Hashem, it's not that Hashem revealed to himself one day and said, hey, I'm Hashem. No. What does he say over here? Avraham, in his own mind, was able to figure it out. And then he logically was able to persuade everyone about it. The Rambam is telling us, this idea, this principle of Achdus Hashem is logical. And therefore you can get it in your mind. You could understand the rayis that there is a one Hashem. You could also logically understand where everyone went off and how everyone else made the mistake. And that's why the Rambam chooses the girsa of Ben Arboim Shana, which he found. The Kesef Mishnah says he found that girsa. What do we know about 40 years of age?
Bina.
Ben Arboim Labina. Yeah, we know that Bar Mitzvah is a very, very big celebration and a very big cause for joy, etc. And why is that? Because of Bar Mitzvah, there's a certain amount of intellectual maturity that comes. But at the end of the day, we say Ben Arboim Labina. That the ultimate maturity comes at the age of 40. Till you're 40, you don't have it. But Mitzvah Hashem, when a person hits 40, so that's when the ultimate bina comes, the ultimate intellectual maturity. And the message that Rambam is giving us over here, can you imagine if the Rambam would have said Avram recognized Hashem when he was 3? What does everyone think right away? Oh, it must have been a miracle. Which 3-year-old kid that's able to recognize Hashem? Can't be a natural phenomenon. It has to be a miracle. The Rambam doesn't want to bring that down because that would actually be contrary to the point that he's trying to bring over here. He's trying to show how this idea of accepting Hashem is 100% al pi seichel, it's logical, and that's why he says Ben Arboim Shana Hikra Avram es Boirek, because that's consistent with everything that he's saying in the entire Perek, that the ikr of Achdus Hashem and avoiding of Avodah Zarah has to be dafka. It has to be dafka logical. It has to be dafka logical.
How about 48?
Sorry. Okay, but the Rambam found the Girsa 40 and he chose to go with that Girsa to bring out this point. Yeah, the Rambam is halacha, yeah, because this is negate halacha. Negate halacha to understand that this idea of Avodah Zarah is something that has to be in the mind. It's not only Hashem, tell me what to do. However, at the same time also, what happens afterwards? You think that Avram went and he convinced everyone. Everyone understood in their mind. Tens of thousands of people, certainly his own descendants. And then the Yidden go to Mitzrayim. And boom, it's lost. What is the lesson for us in that? The lesson for us in that is that if you go only with Seichel, that also doesn't work. Eventually, Seichel, as they say in Yiddish, can farfiren. Seichel can lead you, can take you on a trip. It can take you on because Seichel has its own way. When was the continuity of Klal Yisrael assured and guaranteed? When Hashem sent us Moshe Rabbeinu, and He chtiran b'mitzvahs, He gave us mitzvahs, v'heidiyan derech avodah, and He gave us our avodah. When we're following what Hashem tells us. And here's where you have those two things. On the one hand, it has to make sense to me. It has to be in my own mind. But at the same time, it has to be mitzad, the tzivui of Hashem. Which, by the way, takes us back to something we spoke about, I think, 2 shiurim ago. The Perek Aleph and Shaar and Vehaemunah talks about the idea of how the Torah tells us Achdus Hashem. Perek Beis tells us, convinces us of it logically, because those two are the two sides of the coin of how to be able to serve Hashem. On the one hand, our service of Hashem has to be in a way of understanding, but also it has to be nasa v'nishma with Kabbalah soil at the very shayrish and the very yusayid. So our learning over here in Tanya, we're learning Shaar Vehaemunah. That's what we're trying to accomplish over here. all those rayis that who knows, maybe Avram was speaking to his people about Ziv HaShemesh B'Shemesh when he was telling his people about Keil Elam. It says that Rambam says that Avram Avinu was Mechaber Svarim. I believe the Gemara says in Avodah Zarah that hundreds of Svarim. I think hundreds of Svarim.
Where this Svarim?
So he mistamid some Shaykh Vehaemunah maybe was there, unless it's a totally new gilui. And what is he telling? He's busy convincing and explaining to people, Hataka ain't it mavadi. There's nothing other than the Eibishter. And why is that? Because if the Eibishter is creating us at every single moment, then we have no existence. So there's nothing, and therefore don't give no covet to no stars, don't give no covet to no malachim. Why? Because nothing exists, nothing but the Eibishter. Because Keil Olam, not Keil Ha'olam, but Dafke Keil Olam. So here we are sitting in the week of Parshat Lech Lecha, the week of Avram Avinu, and we're following in the path and trying to understand what it means, the bittul. And we have now, Mir Hashem, until next week, to grapple with the big question with which the Alter Rebbe leaves us, which is, why is it that if we're so completely bottled to Hashem, bottled b'mitzias, why is it that we don't see it and we don't sense it?